just feel your body in your chair, your hands where they're resting on your legs, your back against the chair, nice soft neck. Let the top of your head just float up, open up. And notice if you feel any energy in the palms of your hands or really anywhere in your body. We've been together for almost 2 days now doing work about energy, feeling it, giving it, receiving it, exploring it. And I know that you feel differently than when you came here on Friday. So just enjoy that space, enjoy what it's giving you, enjoy how it's opening you, healing you, filling you up. So you may, whenever you're ready, open your eyes or keep them closed, whatever feels right to you. Our first question tonight is, how, Kryon, do we maintain our balance in a world that seems crazy out there and chaotic, or we don't know what's going to happen next or where? We don't know where we're going to be, if we're going to have a job, what the economy's like. How do we find our own personal balance in that?
Greetings, dear ones. I am Kryon of Magnetic Service. Before the questions are answered, we wish to set an energy in the room of congratulations, of honor. We wish to remind you this. It is a sacred moment, one that is known by God in advance, not because there is predestination, but because the potentials are so strong that would bring you here, that here you are. If we were to go back in what you call your time, the potential existed when the meeting was struck, when the agreements were made, before the chairs were counted. The potentials that you would see and feel and interpret the energy were all here. And here you are this day sitting in the chair, whether you've been here for 2 days or you've just arrived. An appointment is at hand. And the answers to the questions are not the subject here. For we speak in what is called the third language. Yet again, we explain this as the catalyst language, the one that you sit in and soak up the love of God. And if you'll allow it, these moments will bring you closer to that which is and what is called the multidimensional self. For lurking, and we use the word lurk because it is not clear where it is to you, lurking in every single human being is that which vibrates very high. An extremely complex system, a plan, a benevolence, a love in every single one. Enhanced by the ancestors that you are and have been and are around. And now in this assemblage, also enhanced by the ones you've loved and lost who are here. So let us make it clear one more time. Who is here? You have a human being who's alive and well, sitting in the chairs. Well enough to sit in the chair. And you have the others. And oh, human being, you want to singularize them, you want to say who they are, you want to give them names, and I will tell you, it's an entourage and it's an assembly that is bigger than you can imagine, who knows who you are, knows the reasons you came to sit. And during this time we call Q&A, it won't be for them. For you are opening your hearts and your minds for a little while, suspending reality for a moment in time. And they know that, so that perhaps they can whisper things to you while you are partially out of linearity. And perhaps you will even smell them, feel them touch you, and know that I am correct, that all things work together in a plan. Listen, there is no such thing as death. There is no sting in this. It is simply a recalibration. And when it occurs, and you return new, young, you return with full knowledge of all the spirituality that you've ever learned, dear ones. Should you choose to work with it, you can. There are those in this audience, in this assemblage, who need to hear this before I answer the first question, and it is so. When you were born, you knew your direction. You knew that contract was to come back as a light worker. You knew at some intuitive level. But with free will and free choice, many of you did nothing. And then there were some who did, and many who awakened to purpose and realized that they were more than they thought, that God was bigger than you were told. And then there are the ones, and I know who you are, sitting here now, and it's just happening now. And so I want to say congratulations for an awakening which is profound, for you will never be the same. May you walk out of this place differently than you came in. May the love of God hover upon you, and you would feel it so strongly that you would smile, even in the rain. Question has been asked about balancing. The word chaos has been used. It has to be worrisome in your culture to see what is taking place in this economy, in this country, and that is what we are addressing. Although I will tell you what happens here will happen in the rest of the world, it is the way it is. And this country often sets standards that usually then become that which is practiced elsewhere. One of the reasons you are here is because of that. For the old soul whose consciousness changes this country, changes earth. But dear ones, don't use the word chaos, because that's not what's happening here. You want to see chaos? I present this in the most loving manner I can. I want you to bless what you have and congratulate yourselves on the recalibrating economy, although it may be difficult. But it isn't chaos. You've seen chaos. And there are humans on this earth right now looking at chaos. Oh, let me take you to Haiti. Living in cardboard boxes without food. Orphans without parents who used to have them, and nobody cares. That's chaos of the highest order, and it is survival. And there will be those who simply don't make it. You don't have chaos here, and you're not going to have it. You've got to start understanding what is taking place so that you can relax within it and work the puzzle. There will be those, perhaps, who have lost their jobs, maybe even their homes. You're still eating. You're still loved. You may even still have transportation and hope. That's not chaos. What this country has done in these last years is what we foretold you would do. 3 years before that which you call the recession, I told you it would take place. It is published in the Kryon books that some of the largest corporations in this fine country would fall. That one of the largest institutes would fail, called insurance, and it did. It was number one. And these have crashed for a reason, because the old system of banking, insurance, and greed cannot stand up with a new consciousness. And in the process, the fine balance is to take them to that point, not where they will crash, but where they can still sustain the economy in a marginal way, so there isn't chaos, so there is food, and there is caring, and there is health care, while they rebuild. Give yourself another 3 years. Watch it start to improve. The rules are so new that even those that call themselves bankers don't know what to do with their money. Too new. Still demonstrations outside that which you call the exchange, showing disapproval even now with the system of greed. Watch for a balance to occur that is fairer for all. Watch for banking and insurance to start progressing to something that it always should have been, but never could achieve in an old energy of greed. Oh, also watch for some steps backwards and then forwards. For the greedmongers are always there. And they will try things to pull it backwards, to get their way. Only this you'll watch. For the first time, public outcry will create an almost instant reversal every single time they try, and that's a first. In the past, when they wanted to pass those kinds of rules so they would make more and take less from you and more from you as they deemed proper in their own minds, all they had to do was do it. And now they can't, because everyone is watching. And what did we tell you some years ago? There would come a time when everyone can talk to everybody, and there can be then no secrets. This is the key. It is the key for you in your endeavors to hold the light in this country. We'll build a new system, slowly, that will then create again the kind of abundance you were used to. The unemployment rate will start going down. And you will recover. And you remember these words and the timing. And perhaps then you can look back and say, it was worth the effort. It was worth the effort. Balance yourselves, light workers, and understand what is going on. It's what you signed up for. It's why you're here. I dare you to celebrate the recession.
Thank you. So the second question is a couple of parts here. What, if any, are the physical symptoms of ascension? And am I not being spiritual if I go to the doctor? And at what point do I seek medical attention?
fine questions indeed, for they start a discussion that is appropriate and true. Knowledge that should be given to the light workers about these things have to do with the fine line you walk, indeed, in your culture, in your society. Part 1. The question about the symptoms that are physical about ascension is easy. Look for joy. Look for joy. Can you be among the ones who think it's chaotic in your economy and be joyful? If you can, that's a physical sign. Can you be joyful in the presence of chaos? Can you go to work at a company who's been cut to the quick, and you're one of the few who's left doing twice the amount of work at half the pay? And can you be joyful being there? Even though others show up and complain, can you be joyful there? That is a symptom of ascension. It is easy. It is easy. So there are those who are saying, I can't do it. I hear you. I want to take a moment and lay my hand on you. It is not that hard. When you can take the hand of Spirit, it isn't that hard. If you're going to go it alone, it is hard. And that's the difference. I can hear your tears. And that's the difference. And we pause. And I clear my partner's mind. I don't want him to feel what I see. How long is it going to take you to cross this barrier and take the hand of Spirit when it's outstretched the way it is? Invention, science, medicine on this planet has all increased in the delivery of its sophistication by design. Have you ever seen or noticed that invention on the planet happens simultaneously in many places at the same time? This would tell you, would it not, that consciousness is a field, and then when it's right for these things, they are placed upon consciousness, and many humans receive it at the same time. The invention of flight was a race to who could do it first. Almost within days, you won. Invention of the radio, all given at the same time. Even today, disputed who did it first. And so we tell you that that which your doctors have, the sophistication that they have, the instruments they have, all God-given. It's a combination of going to those who are medical doctors and that which you can do yourself. It's a combination. It always has been. It always will be. Always will be. Until that time when your DNA works at 100% and you can heal your body instantly. But at this juncture where you have DNA working at 30%, there is only so much you can do for yourself. You can start a process, and then you can have the doctor measure it. The teacher, Sid, is walking today differently because of a miraculous operation that he underwent weeks ago. And that is not something he could have done himself, not yet. Even the healer had to take advantage of that which was God-given to the doctors of the planet. And he is alive today, walking today, will live longer today, and be a healer in a place that needs it. Do you understand what I'm saying? In all appropriateness, use the things that your intuition will tell you you need from that which you call the medical profession which is God-given. The knowledge, the instruments, the technology, all appropriate, all for you. It's a combination. There will be some things that you can do for yourself that used to be that which you'd go to a doctor for. Innate is going to become a sharper instrument. That is to say, it will be able to do things now with you and for you, especially chemical balance in the body that can never be done before without the assistance of drugs. There'll come a time, and not too far, where light workers will be able to only take a fraction of the insulin for diabetes. It'll be almost like a tincture in homeopathy. They'll still be able and must have an injection, but it'll be extremely small compared to what they used to have in the insulin, giving a signal to the body in what to do instead of having the drug do it. This is what you're to look for. Certain kinds of medications that you're taking now, you might experiment in cutting them back very, very slowly and safely, measuring what is taking place, finding that you might not need as much because innate is starting to work better. DNA is starting to be more improved in the percentage of efficacy. You understand? This is the new energy. Don't do anything foolish, but push the envelope.
The next question concerns the evolution of the human's consciousness and how it is in relationship to the rest of the universe as we evolve.
Incredibly insightful. And given by somebody who already knows the answer, or they could not have constructed the question. One modifies the other. From the beginning, we have told you that this planet is a test of energy. It's not a test of humans. Do you understand the difference? It's a test of energy. In what direction and vibration will the energy of the planet go when measured by those entities called human beings, which are really angels in disguise, walk among that which we call the entities of Gaia? The test of Earth is about the universe. And we have told you this, it is the only planet of free choice, the only one. If you want to know the lineage of how this has worked, a benevolent God creating the universe with intelligent design, there's a plan. And there are planets that are populated even today that used to be the only planets of free choice. One of them, which will become nameless, is your seed. And that is in the Pleiadians. And they were the last one. They passed the torch to you. Approximately 100,000 years ago, the earth began to be seeded. The creation story is well known, has been told over and over by myself, and now the earth sits in that fulcrum of testing. And it will do so for a great amount of time, until the vibratory level is high, or not, when it is tested finally. Not in your lifetime, not in the next lifetime, not in the next 10 lifetimes will this take place. There is much time left for this planet to be then measured. Let me rewind what you call your time clock, and let us go back almost 200,000 Earth years. And I want to place yourself not here, but on a nameless planet where the Pleiadians are, in the Seven Sisters. And they were on the cusp of graduation. Let me describe a planet that is at peace. Oh, dear ones, they're here. You know they are. there's a benevolent, caring seed of you. And they shine like the sun. They became quantum. They became multidimensional. They found their higher selves. And their planet had a complete and different purpose: to seed yours, to watch over yours, to make sure that the test was accurate and true. Oh, dear ones, I'll tell you something I've never said before. This is a sophisticated group. You need to hear it. It's the Pleiadians who keep the riffraff away from you. And they do a good job, so that the test will be unmolested. I told you once that this planet is hidden. That most of the planets with the kind of life that would sustain that which is like humans have two suns. And there's a reason, because two suns create a far greater chance of life beginning and photosynthesis to take place. You lost one of them. You only have one sun. So those who are looking for life are looking in the wrong place. If you want validation of this, I will tell you this. Your astronomers are looking for planets. Over 1,000 of them have been discovered so far. They've just found one with two suns. It exists, and they're going to find more. And as these things unfold, you will see the prophecies of Kryon. And the words from me are starting to make sense. Now this earth holds a test. Go back with me 200,000 years. On the other planet, in the Seven Sisters, there was indeed a graduation. I cannot explain this to you, for it's not in 3D. But let me tell you this, that when that planet was measured and seen for what it became, the rules of this galaxy changed. Your universe is this galaxy. Other galaxies, different rules. Other galaxies, different physics. There is no one physics for the universe. So think only on your galaxy. That which is in the middle contains energy you have not yet discovered. You have no idea what it is or why it is. It is a multi-dimensional energy that defies all physics ever known. It's far grander than a black hole. It's part of the plan. It provides communication. There's even spirituality there. The universe, made of these galaxies, all have tests going on. In this galaxy of yours, you are the only planet of free choice. 200,000 years ago, this galaxy changed phenomenally. The rules changed because of the Pleiadians. You're the next step. Now, here's what you should know. The alignment that you're in, the 36 years you're in, all of these things coming to a fulcrum, to the midpoint of the solstice, is the grandest thing we have ever expected and seen from you. Over and over, you have failed to cross the bridge until now. And you can find many prophecies that said you wouldn't. That's how common it is. You'll find more prophecies that said you wouldn't cross this bridge than those who said you would. And you're sitting right in the middle of the bridge and crossing it. I speak perhaps in terms that are metaphoric, so let's clear it. My partner is saying, say it again, clearer. This planet is headed for the same place the Pleiadian planet made it. And this is the 5th try. And it's working. And you have free choice to do anything you want with it. But when the Soviet Union fell over, And when the other things that you see started to fail, that used to then promote that dark energy, including what you call the Illuminati, they're not here. Oh, they're lurking, but they're not controlling anymore. The internet would never have happened had you not had this enlightened place to put it, where everyone could talk to everyone, enhancing and accelerating this light of yours. Yes, the Pleiadians had the internet. How can I be clearer? You can take this anywhere you want to, but the ball is rolling. The relationship between you, your ascension, what you do here, the crystalline grid, affects this galaxy right in the middle and changes the rules. And right now I'm telling you, you look to be just like those who seeded you. Congratulations. And remember, it's not over. You can do anything you want with this. You can pull it backwards, or you can keep it going. Light worker, that's why you're waking up.
Kryon, you've spoken about the new earth. Can you tell us if that's been changing, and where exactly is it?
Question was just answered. You're sitting upon it. The new earth is the description of a planet that no longer has energy which will take you to war. The new earth is a description of a planet who is ripe and ready for human beings to live a great deal longer than they live. Doing it on their own, through chemical balance, through DNA enhancement, through medical science, through supplements, through discovery. The new earth is an earth that looks so different from the one of 100 years ago that a visitor coming back 100 years later and arrives today will say, "What happened here?" You sit upon it. You're part of it. And the promise is great.
Kryon, you've written books and spoken a lot about our Indigo Children. How can we, as parents, and even those of us who are not parents, support children with ADD and ADHD diagnoses, and how can we honor them in the public school system that we have now?
Let us be clear that Spirit did not identify them as indigo. A human did. For Spirit, these children are simply children of new consciousness. Now, my partner made a point earlier to say that there is no such thing as generalization of consciousness. And just as it is true that every single one of you is remarkably different from your lives, from what you believe, to the path you're leading, spiritual beliefs, and what you must do. Every child who enters this planet of new consciousness is at different levels of it. The ones who are the highest level, that is to say, the ones who are the most quantum, you have a name for. Autistic. They are savants. They have no linear barriers in their brain. They are ultimate uber conceptuals. And they have an incredibly difficult time with your linearity. The parents in here of an autistic child know that when you speak to them and they look at your voice, if they will even look in your eyes, they can't understand it. You can see their brain struggling to put the words in a row, to place them in their brains in a row. That's how you speak. That's the linearity you have, and they don't. And they struggle to linearize. You're going to discover how to work with the autistics eventually. And it's going to come with you becoming more conceptual and giving them burst information that they can understand. And it may take some technology that you have not seen. You go on down that scale of enlightened conceptual human beings that are being born now, and you have then what I would call the mode, the average. The children are coming in far, far less linear. And so that is to say, they want discipline, they want understanding, and they want teaching in conceptual ways. They have scoped the energy of the puzzle and have the answers ready before you open the door. They know what they know long before you tell them what they should. In school, they're bored. They're bored. You cannot give them pablum when they see so much more the whole meal. Learn how to teach these children conceptually. Number one, give them the meal first. Give them the payoff right away, and then find out what they want to know about it. It's backwards. You start by giving them the facts leading up to the payoff. If you're going to teach algebra, you have to start with math. You have to start with the principles. You have to start with this and that. Why not start with algebra and ask them what they don't understand? You see the point? Show them what's happened on the earth. Give them a synopsis of human history and ask them what they'd like to know about. There is a new way of teaching afoot. And it's exactly backwards than you think, and the children are going to rise to the occasion, and it will be a challenge. It will be exciting. It will be a puzzle. And you're going to have to work harder at it because each child is going to have a different path. There are schools operating in this way right now. Study them and see them and try to slowly implement these things where they're not being implemented. And now the obvious. Don't wring your hands and wonder what is going to become of these children. Let me tell you what's going to become of these children. They're going to be so disappointed in the way school works, they're going to become teachers and change it. You see? Look at their age. You got a 10-year-old who is struggling, not doing well, bored in school, having trouble, 10 years old. Look at the age. Now, how old is he in a decade? A simple decade. Old enough to be in that study group. Perhaps even to have graduated and be on the cusp of his degree to be a teacher. 10 years, that's all. It's happening sooner than you think. And then another 10, and they will be the principals, the administrators, what you call the bean counters. It will make a difference. It's on its way. So understand what I'm saying. Is the consciousness now is not going to stay now. And yes, you may have to have the old energy stay until it retires. And some of you know exactly who I'm talking about. And then the opening comes. And you'll start to slowly see the change. Oh, dear ones at home, if you have these children, this is so difficult of a concept to understand. They know about your relationship at home more than you do. They know the energies, the difficulties, the puzzles. They're not like you used to be. These children have a concept of life. They have a concept of consciousness. My partner tells the story, and I will as well, that in an older energy, when parents fight, the children hide. For it threatens the very survival of their hearts. Worst thing that the children could ever see would be trouble in the family. And you know the hurt that's there and the fear in their eyes as you find them in the closet later after the yelling match is over. Oh, that is not the conceptual child. For the conceptual child will see what is happening, stand his ground, and offer suggestions. Conceptual. Puzzle solvers. What happens when a human being sees concepts? I will tell you, they are very fast to see the answers. A linear human has to walk through the linearity of the puzzle, piece by piece by piece. And by the time he gets to the last piece, he's forgotten the first. And the concept may never appear. And that explains politics. That's a Kryon joke. The children of new consciousness are also going to be your congresspeople. And you're going to see conceptual solutions to problems that have been hanging on the shelf, unsolvable for decades. But when the conceptuals arrive, they'll see it as a group. Bam. Problem solution. They work together. You'll still have a party system, you'll still have disagreements, all of the things you have now, but you'll have concepts you've never seen, and there'll be some of you who will slap your heads and say, why didn't we think of that before? And the reason is because you're looking at a different kind of thinking. It's more enlightened. Not all of the children are enlightened, but most of them are conceptual. They have the same opportunities you do to find that which is their higher selves. They're not born spiritual any more than you are, but they're born conceptual. So that's what you can do. And the final one is this. For the teachers in this group or listening to this channel, for the teachers, you've got to look into their eyes and treat them like your brother and your sister. You can't look at them and understand and figure out how old they are, what they might know or not know. You got to look at them like a peer and explain the issue like a peer and ask them what they would do and what they need. Instead of a situation where they sit in front of you and you're the adult and they're not, and they're just going to do what they're told. That's not going to work. They know better. They pick it up right away. They will dishonor you if you do not honor them. And some of the parents have already figured that out.
This question is about the consciousness of Gaia and human consciousness. And did that consciousness we call Gaia have a choice in incarnating as Earth instead of human?
An intellectual question. So now I give you the lineage, and you will understand better. You think of Mother Earth as the grandmother. Naturally, in your bias as human beings, mothers give birth, mothers nurture, mothers give instructions. They cook meals, they take care of you, they are the authority. Gaia is not. Gaia laid null and void until the humans started building the crystalline grid. And as the humans built consciousness, they gave life to Gaia. Therefore, Gaia, and the entity that you would call that which is the mother, became Gaia through the efforts of you. That is why Gaia reacts to your consciousness. As my partner was saying earlier today, the scientists have seen it. It is why Gaia reacts to what you do. Gaia is there as a nurturer. Big as it is, it exists to comfort you based upon what you have created, which is called Gaia. Therefore, it is backwards than what you think. I have told you these things before, dear ones. You and I, all of you, stood and watched this planet you call Earth develop from a piece of molten dirt. And in that, you and the consciousness of the piece of gods you are, put Gaia together And as you then became humanity, you put the salt of your energy into the planet. And it then honored you. The portals of the planet are your resting places for the old souls. The cave of creation, which is that place where the Akashic record is located, beautiful for you, created for you. Therefore, it is Gaia who reflects human nature, human consciousness, the energy, and it is Gaia, ultimately, that the measurement is taken to find out how the earth is doing.
Well, this is our last question we have time for. And this question comes from a clarification about what you speak about, this side of the veil or that side of the veil, and the coming and going from one to the other. And will there ever be an evolution that makes that something that consciousness and incarnations don't do, and we all become totally luminous?
Let's ask a Pleiadian. And they're here. When they seeded the earth, you won't find any bodies. You know they stayed, don't you? They had to. And they committed what they would call their soul's lifetime to your planet. But you're not going to find any bodies. Now, why would that be? Ask an Aborigine about the ones who had the names which were not pronounceable. Ask the Aborigine about the 7 sisters, and he and she will tell you that they landed there, and they landed there, and they took up residence here, and you couldn't go there. No one could. It was too sacred. And how long ago was that? 30, 40,000 years? And this day, right this minute, they're guarding the same places and saying they're still there. They feel the energy. I'm giving you a roundabout answer to a very good question. The Pleiadians are in graduate status. They no longer incarnate because they don't die. The cold sore, that which is the core of the soul, is connected so strongly because they have quantumized all that they are, that they become the singular soul. Now my partner is saying, stop and start again. And I will. In the cave of creation right now there is crystalline, and that crystalline represents your soul. One soul, many lifetimes. You have to understand this. Like rings in a tree, you have one soul with many lifetimes. Right now your higher self is your best friend, and it has been your higher self every single incarnation. Therefore, if you want to touch the Akash, you better get in touch with the one who's been there every single time. That's you. It's the core. Now imagine a time where you become so integrated that you no longer need death. And instead, you come and go from one side of the veil to the other, just like you'd walk from one room to the other. You can hardly tell whether you're a creature of God or that of a planet. And at that point in time, the planet does not stop. It's hard to imagine such a place where it would seem to be half virtual and half in 3D, but that is what it is. There'll come a time when the actual planet itself of the Pleiadians disappear, and they know it. When they have elided what they have in their vernacular as their Gaia becomes a high enough a consciousness, it will be just like them. Yes, as you come to a place where you are able to touch your higher self, and this spreads to other humanity, and it's not in this generation or the next one or the next one or the next one. We are talking about a lot of years. You know that. And when it takes place, and it could, just like it did there will be no death. There's 2 places on the planet right now that are very, very Pleiadian. You might say they have decided to reside there in their multidimensional states where there is no time, where they wait for you to do something. And now I present it to you. In the mountain called Shasta, they're there. Climb the mountain. You'll see them. Some of them will show themselves. They love you. You're a sister and a brother. The original teachers of Lemuria reside in the island of Kauai. And that is why that island has never been and never will be conquered by a king, by military, or government. It cannot be. For they live there. And they wait. They never died. They've been on this planet as long as the planet sustained enlightenment. 100,000 years. What are they waiting for? I'll tell you what they're waiting for. They're waiting for what you're doing right now. If you pass this 36-year timeline and plant the seeds that we think you're planting, that we see that you're planting very slowly, and sometimes what you think chaotically, you're going to cross that bridge that we said you were going to cross 22 years ago. And I promise you there'll come a day when you're going to meet them. And they're going to say to you, well done, sister. Well done, brother. And then and only then can they go home. And it won't be long past that you'll start to understand what it's like to ascend. Now that's the far future. And it's speculation based upon potential. It's not fortune telling. It's predisposed, not predestined. Big words. So let us finally return to where we started. You're going to have to balance. I told my partner to shut it out, and he did. I told my partner not to feel what I saw, so that he wouldn't come away with anything out of integrity. For it's not up to him to see those in this room who have secrets, or in trouble, or in confusion. But I see it. And I don't want to let this group of precious old souls leave this room without taking the hand that is theirs in the higher self. At least try it. And leave different. It is so available. And so difficult at the same time. For you to believe it, or believe you need it, or for some of you even to want it that bad. Fear of enlightenment is always there. Oh, shaman. Let's talk about the shaman and those in the audience. I got 3 of them, 1 credentialed. I know who's here. Think I don't know who's sitting here. What possessed you to get that namaker? What possessed you to become that which is the shamanic? And I will tell you, because this is what you did before. only before it didn't turn out real well, if you know what I mean. And so you had to cross that bridge, and that's what you teach. How to get through the fear of enlightenment. Because old souls have made mistakes in the past when they awakened, and those in the villages saw them as different, burned them as witches, whatever. And here you are again. Witch and warlock. Shaman, holy men, holy women. I've said it before. What is the attribute of a holy man in the tribe? Do you remember? You got to live outside the tribe because you're too strange. You are shunned, so you live alone. But you're the first one they come to for help, right? Now does that ring a bell? And here you sit yet again. I want you to cross that bridge. Don't fear it. It's back, but it's back in an energy that is so different. The Pleiadians are in the room. And they're comforting you. In a way, your soul group is their children. Ancestors that are Lemurian in this room. You knew them. You saw their faces. Think of that. Cross the bridge. Don't be afraid. And here's the promise that we give you. In this new energy, you will not be seen as odd, strange, and different. You will be seen as balanced. That's the difference. Isn't it time for this? Let it begin this night in every heart here. And so it is.
Who are you? What are you doing here? What is the purpose for your visit? What is the reason for your pilgrimage? What is the knowledge that you seek? This is the great tree of knowledge, tree of goodness and light and wealth and health. This is the Tirnan Og, the learning, and the deep pool of accepting who you are and the power of who you are, and how you can live your life and let go of memories and tap into information as you need it. Not just information, but wise information. It's the wisdom that you're seeking. And it's all to do with making this a day-to-day, a moment-to-moment practice of how does a wise person make decisions? How does a wise person operate in alignment with the earth, the elementals, Father Sky, with an awareness of the water and the flow of life and the bounty of life. And this is what conquers the fear. So that the dark is just the dark and the light is just the light. And the love is the natural in between. And this is the ease that people are searching for, the calm, the serenity, the pool of wisdom. And these are the practical tools to access it, so that it is one day at a time, one moment at a time. That it's all about the experience of living, the joy of the experience, but being present to be aware of the experience and to be aware of the moment and to be in the now.
Greetings, dear ones. I'm Kryon of Magnetic Service. Some have noticed that there is a difference between the channelings given before groups of people in a conference or those who would gather in an excursion. Those who are here are literally touching the earth with their feet, and they're having a grand presentation of the idea that the planet is somehow allied with humanity differently than humans actually believe or teach. We sit in front of a tree, a grand one yet again that is very old. There are things that this tree has seen that only generations of humanity would have said they have seen. You can look at parts of it and say history was happening when this part was growing. And you'd be talking about centuries and centuries ago. And it still lives on. Humans look at the trees quite often differently than we are teaching now. Dear ones, it is a common theme of Kryon, and I will give it yet again, in great love to you, that the modern teaching that is spiritual not only has left out the planet, but has modeled God after humans. Some of you grew up in school and you learned how the trees and humans react. My partner, he learned that the trees are constantly scrubbing the atmosphere of the waste of carbon dioxide. The entire specter of this and the perception is that trees are on their hands and knees cleaning up after humans. And it goes even further. There is not an honoring of the earth or its part. It's just there doing its job. There isn't a sense, perhaps, that this tree is being fed right now as we exhale. And as the process itself that it is known for, that is living, literally gives off the life of oxygen. That's not nature on its hands and knees scrubbing anything. That is an alliance. Now that alliance creates so many things that we teach today, including that which we call entrainment, which is the field. The earth and nature is needed for physics. And that physics, since 2012, is starting to be clearer and more enhancing as it harmonizes compassion and thought. But it cannot go further without an understanding by humanity, more than just small groups who tour island, or small groups who tour anywhere that has nature. It has got to be more common that spirituality must include that which is the planet as a sentient being. Think of the planet having consciousness of one that knows who you are. Again, the common theme of Kryon, that humans have not only left Gaia behind in their spirituality, they have placed human consciousness and thought onto what you would call God, the creative source of all things, the source of love, the source of nature. This source which created the heavens and the earth, which is immense beyond immense, which is responsible for the universe as you look upon it at night, and more universes, the multiverses that you cannot even imagine. This God, according to humanity and some spiritual systems, cares what you wear, or what you eat, or your actions somehow. And if you don't please this universe, this immense creative love source, if you don't please that, this love source is going to be so dysfunctional, it's going to punish you. Like a bad father. We have said this before. It is humans who have created a dysfunctional God in their image. And in Scripture you learn that you were created in God's image. It's the reverse. The image that you were created in is the image of love and compassion. It is the Creator's image. And it cries out for you to now start to shift your thinking, that which is spiritual, to know who you are and who God is. It is a beautiful, beautiful circle of compassionate love that spirals into that which is health, understanding, wisdom. You cannot separate yourself from this. Well, you can try. The great human bias, yet again, is the one that shuts off God from who God is, who does not see the majesty of the human spirit or the human creation, who creates a human that is born dirty and has to somehow crawl and suffer in order to please this dysfunctional God who will look upon you and punish you. It could not be further from the truth. Look at nature. It is slow, it is wise, it is beautiful, it is gorgeous. It does not reach around and slap you if you don't do something correctly. This is nature, and you look upon it today in its beauty. It's spectacular. peaceful. It's part of you. That's God. And anything else that you might believe or any doctrine you have heard that is different from this is less than the truth. It is far, far larger than most of you who have ever been taught. And that is why you are here in this place, to feel this, because the ground celebrates you as you walk upon it. This is the place where those who are not sensitive can be sensitive. And so we invite you to do that, to be part of all that is, to rearrange perhaps some thinking, and know that God is far, far larger, more compassionate, more benevolent, more personal than ever before. Be still and know that you are God. And so it is.
Who is in love? It's not about other people, it's about your own life force. And filling your life force with divine presence, with love. And this is a choice, moment by moment, day by day. Choosing love, choosing to be in love, is love of life force. Being the light, being the divine presence, is your choice.
Greetings, dear ones. I'm Kryon of Magnetic Service. The group that is here stands on a windy beach. I'm going to ask all of them to look upon the surf, the beach, and reflect. This is called channeling. My partner steps away, and for a moment, as pure as it can be, the consciousness of the other side of the veil flows in to love humanity, to give you messages of love, appreciation, benevolence, instructions that will help for the future. That's the entire reason for channeling. The elements here all coordinate in that, for they are here for you. You walk upon the earth, you are part of the earth, but the earth supports a plan that is here, that is more than you think. I want you to reflect for a moment the history that is here. Ireland is not like Egypt. It does not have the kind of history that we would talk about if we stood there as we have. It has another kind of history. Some of you, perhaps on your tours here, I speak of those who are among you, me. Some of you perhaps have seen the little houses that are overgrown with the bushes and the trees and are falling apart, and it's odd to have them unkempt, standing next to perhaps mansions or factories, and you see them all over Ireland. They're called famine houses. They are the untouched honor of those who died in the famine. Entire families would perish. The children, the adults, the relatives. And in honor of that, they remain untouched. It's an honoring of what took place. It's the love from human to human. There are these kinds of things in each one of you, dear ones. There's the untouched honor of perhaps what has happened in your Akash and who you are. Or what brings you here, perhaps, to Ireland. There is that kind of history in you. As you reflect on who you are today, Do you think perhaps there are these kinds of things that you had happen in the past lives? We know what you bring here to this life. We know of the suffering that some of you have gone through, of the disappointments. But beyond that, is it possible in the history of your lives that you have indeed had the same kinds of things happen to you that has happened in the famine houses? And I'll tell you what the answer is, old soul. Yes. Over and over. And so now you stand in reflection and in love, perhaps of who you are, to come to this point where you have full realization of you, your past, and perhaps even an extension of your future now that you know these things. This message is about you and the future, even though it is reflective of the past. I want to ask you, what's next? If you could project what is next for you, based upon who you are and what you've experienced, what would you project? I want to encourage you to project that which is benevolent and good, which suits your magnificence and that of the planet. So you can begin working together for the first time in ways you've never done before. The elements speak. The channeling is over. And
where is the freedom in your heart and soul? The freedom is in the alignment with the earth, with the alignment with the sun and the moon and the stars, to surrender to the universal forces and the allowing of that well-being, which creates the clarity and the vision and the harmony. It allows the innate living in alliance with nature and with the earth and with Father Sky.
greetings, dear ones. I'm Kryon of Magnetic Service. I wish to continue the last channel. We sit in an ancient hut, a place where life existed many, many years ago. In a circle, we are. And we continue the message we had before, and it is about freedom. I want you to think for a moment. Have you lived before? Is this a concept that is too strange? Or do you embrace that there is a system for souls? Do you think it really makes sense for one life, one soul, to come through this planet and then leave, and have another one come and leave, and another one come and leave? Or is it possible that there is a system of knowledge and wisdom that would allow for learning through lifetimes? And that the whole system and the reasoning for it is that souls would inhabit human bodies lifetime after lifetime and accumulate experiences and therefore wisdom. Dear ones, this is a benevolent, beautiful system. It's one that you know of when you're not here. And so I want to broach a subject, and it's about freedom of the Akash. Now, we started the last channel by asking you to recall or remember perhaps the potential or possibility that you went through suffering.
that perhaps every single human in this circle, or even listening to these words, has an Akash that is peppered, filled with things in an old energy, things that don't happen anymore like that to a general population of the planet. But at one time, it was normal. That lifetimes were short and some didn't make it at all. That there was constant war and invasion and suffering and famine. And that you were part of it. What has happened in the energy of this planet, especially in these last few years, is a total and complete recalibration of the energy. It starts here. The generations that come from you will be born in a fresh land, in a fresh energy. But the old souls that I speak to right now have a chance for what I will call Akashic freedom. And that is the freedom in order to cast off anything that was filled with the old suffering or the old energy. We mentioned the famine houses so that you could see it right now with your own eyes and understand that these things are fresh, very fresh. And then in old energy, humanity did not seem to learn much. We have spoken of this time and time again. Truly, the consciousness that is beat down and never ever evolved creates the same dysfunction over and over. And it's tough to go anywhere that is evolved. Suddenly, that is changing. And that is why so many things on the planet right now look either odd, or sometimes the old energy, you see it now and you never did before. Personal habits are starting to shift and change. Many humans, especially old souls, are starting to question who they were, what they did, why they did it. You might call it an awakening. We simply say a freshness, a light that comes in. And that is what many are experiencing, perhaps even some listening to this now. It's almost like the sun comes out when it never came out before. It's an opportunity, a freshness, a freedom of the Akash. Now is the time to start understanding that your Akash actually may posture who you are. Do you stress all the time? Do you have things in the past that you know perhaps you didn't experience, but it's almost like you did? And it seems to beat you up in some way, to lay upon you. Perhaps it stifles the fun you would have, or doesn't let you have the peace that you know others around you do. And it's all in there, lifetime after lifetime, perhaps of suffering or expectations of things that are less than you have. Akashic freedom for you truly means that you're able to dismiss those things with the knowledge they are not going to happen again to you. This is a new kind of energy that will promote a more commensurate wisdom with the planet and with each other. And it really is new. It is so new, dear ones, that the gyrations of learning are still in progress. The flip-flops between that which is old and new still occurring. The fence-sitting that people are going through that we have spoken of before. It is a time of tremendous change. And you're going to see even more of it. Not just in your own lives, but in your own countries, in your politics, and what the world does with the world. This is new. You will see it everywhere. You'll see the old. Some will say, well, things never change, and that's because they only look at the old. The new sometimes is not even reported, because it's not necessarily something that is seen as anything different from that which occurred once in a while. But now it's starting to occur all the time. There's an integrity starting to come forth that never was before. People are starting to understand things they never did before. There may even be wisdom. This is the freedom of the Akash. So when you think about the things perhaps you went through, I want you to see them diminishing in that which is your Akashic record. And I want you to start to think of the things which were celebrations in the past as coming forward. And that is going to be in your dreams, and that is going to be in your life. It's the promise of wisdom. Wisdom brings a better life. You will not make the mistakes you made before. You will know better. And that also creates that which we call that countenance or personality of a master, where you stop worrying and you see the world differently. It's no longer a threat because you're in control. You're in control of that which is the compassion and the love around you and in your own life. There are those who will say, well, Kryon, that sounds great, but I can't control the ones around me. And I ask you this, why is it necessary to control the ones around you? Your peace is derived from you, not from them. And as you understand that you are worthy of this, then you start to understand that you carry your own sunlight. You carry your own light wherever you go. And eventually those around you who don't understand or perhaps are negative will see the light through you and start to change, because you show them an example of peace, of balance, of what it can be like without worry, without stress. This is the new human. It starts here. It starts now. You sit in an ancient place as a reminder and an honoring of what humans have gone through in order for you to stand here, in order for you to live this life. That is why you stop here, and that is why you honor the history that you honor. The land shakes your hand. It smiles and knows because it was waiting for this. The earth, dear ones, Gaia, is in more of a cooperative framework today than ever before for you to move ahead with a different energy than you've ever had before. This is real. It is the new truth of the earth. I ask you to feel it now. As Gaia nods and shakes your hand and pours the energy that is pure right from this place. Oh, it has seen so much. Think of what it has seen right here. For you to stand here now, in this, what you call the modern times, as the shift begins on the planet and the new human starts to be developed. And greetings, dear ones. I am Kryon of Magnetic Service. We sit in an open field representing the largest stone circle in Ireland. And before we begin, within this channel, we wish to include a meditation from an Irish woman.
Aligning with reality is a circular movement. Infinity is a circular movement. Moving with the flow of nature moves to its own beat, to its own drumming, to its own sounds. Following nature is a circular movement upon a circular movement upon a circular movement.
You notice I included the meditation within the channel. For it's a channel within the channel. And you've heard the one called Jane give the meditations before this in the past. And the next time you hear it, in the next channel, I want you to realize that this is a form of channeling as well. One who was born here, connected with the land here, and knows things my partner does not know. I want to talk about life. I'll talk about it slightly different than I have before. This channel will hook to the next one in a way that will be self-evident when we get there. The next one is scheduled to be by the sea. So we shall see. Life, dear ones, is not necessarily recognized for what it is. In this modern day, humanity has continued to separate themselves from anything else. The earth, to them, is a resource. We say it's a parent, an actual parent. They even look upon the animals and all living things as a resource then to create a life for them. And this is a common theme of Kryon, saying that the ancients understood the affiliation, the unity, and that the modern human doesn't necessarily see it that way. And civilization, as you know it today, does not see it that way. I wish to refresh this by talking about life. Dear ones, life started on this planet, and it started here as something extremely common. Planet after planet in this galaxy has this take place. If the elements are correct, the temperatures are there, and the mixture is proper, you will have life. Period. Now this is controversial because there are those who are spiritual who say, well, the spark of life is something that was created specifically by God. Your definition of God will help you to understand what I'm telling you. That the Creator created a planet which helped then create life. Now, up to a few decades ago, this was very controversial, and now it is being seen as accurate by many scientists. There was a time, not too long ago, when the common thought on this planet was that you were alone. That somehow life occurred here and nowhere else. And then among billions and billions of stars and planets, this was the only one that had life. In the last few decades, even scientists now are expecting life everywhere. We have said to you that the galaxy is teeming with life. We even told you you were the new ones, late, and that there's a great deal of ancient life in other planets and other solar systems like yours everywhere. I'd like to tell you how this works, just so you know. And the evidence is scientific. They now understand when you get the mixture of chemistry correct and add a little electricity, you get life. You get the aminos correct, and the acids correct, and the electricity correct, and you get life. And it happens naturally with the elements all over the galaxy. It is common. It is expected. Those who've studied the planet and life on this planet see that it had 5 life starts and 4 life terminations of basic biology. It wasn't until life produced that thing you call photosynthesis that it could stain itself. 4 other times it appeared and died off before it could sustain itself. Would this not indicate that life is naturally occurring with the elements? Indeed it is. And so the question is, who are you? And how did you get created? Indeed, it came from God, and it came through Gaia. It came properly through the elements, the beginnings of life. And the life that you have right now, as humans that are now modern, with high consciousness, defined as a consciousness that can examine itself intellectually, you humans are sustained by the trees, by the bushes, by the grass. It's still there. You see, life was never separate from Gaia, ever. You are literally part of the dirt, part of the chemistry, part of the plants. You came from here, all of you. Now, what are you going to do with that knowledge? I'm going to give you a hint where we're going to go with this. Every disease known by man can be eliminated through Gaia, through consciousness. You are designed to self-balance. And humanity has lost that knowledge that in the ground you will find all of the remedies for everything. The things that are killing so many humans right now are all about unbalance. And some of it is consciousness, some of it is chemistry. And even the indigenous knew this, for they found ways of killing themselves through unbalance as well. Humans do this, but then they return to the planet, and there's some basic herbal remedies that, when mixed correctly, can create longer life and health. My partner was reminded of this in a very isolated place, in the middle of the Pacific Ocean, called Rapa Nui. Some of you have called it Easter Island. And there the shamans would tell that in that isolated area that knew nothing about anything except themselves and their island, within the crater of an extinct volcano, they had a garden. And that garden sustained them, and the average life of the Rapa Nui people was 120 years. They had found the secret of health, and they were growing it right on their own soil. We encourage those to find this again, and again we'll tell you that Ireland is ripe for these discoveries, not just for botany. Medicines of all kinds can come from here, and they will be imbued with a life that no other place on the planet can grow, just like Rapa Nui. There is so much here to know about yourself, about the healing. Astronomers are expecting to find life everywhere now because they know of the chemistry of how it occurred here. They expect to find it where there is water, the temperature is correct, where there's electricity, and there is everywhere. They even expect to find it even in your own solar system. They're looking for that, which is microbial, and they're correct. Natural occurring it is, came right from here, right from the dirt of the earth, dear ones. It is later that you got imbued with that which you call the soul. That was stage 2 of creating the human being as you see it now. So life came from Gaia, and the soul was put in later when you needed it. And now you have both things. You have the soul and the biology, and they work together. But don't forget where life actually came from. We will continue the channel in a moment. And so it is.
So as you go forward from this weekend, please let it unfold in you all that has been brought to you this weekend. And see yourself standing in the center of a spiral that is connecting you between heaven and earth, that unwinds and unfolds information and love and guidance through your breath, through your heart, through the wisdom of your own magnificent sacredness, through the love that exists in this room, in this family, and in all of our families that we touch from here to the beyond, the limitlessness and the expansion of that love as it turns in the center of the spiral of your heart and awakens and unfolds consciousness and healing that becomes the part of you, the you that you have been waiting for, the you that you already are, in the love and the light of the I Am.
Greetings, dear ones. I'm Kryon of Magnetic Service. There is a tradition of more than 20 years when it comes to my partner and channeling. The tradition is that on a 2-day event, the last channeling would be heartwarming, loving, short, and simple. We're going to break the tradition. And that makes my partner nervous. He is comfortable with emotion. He is able to translate so easily the energy of the heart. His compassionate countenance marries with the other side of the veil and agrees with it before he even speaks. And then there's a channel like this one. I'm giving him pictures he doesn't know where to begin and what to say. For 2 days, this particular group has been given some of the highest-minded principles that exist. Yes, there are other teachers who will give just as high-minded. But the group has been exposed to so much, so many ideas, so much potential, and so much confusion. It is interesting, is it not, in humanity, when a truly brilliant man or woman on a stage, because they are brilliant, because of what they have taught and what they can do, and because of the maturity and elegance of their consciousness, when they are asked a question, they answer it brilliantly. And they know they have. And they smile and they're satisfied. And when the audience leaves the room, they say, "We have no idea what they said." Often there must be a marriage of communication. And often the most brilliant humanity have matured to a level that is difficult to understand. They have gone beyond 3 dimensions, even 4. I want to review with you not science, but reality. And in order to do that, we must speak of what you think is science, for we use scientific words. They're not. They're just descriptions of reality. And we have told you one of the most basic truths that exists today. And I want to simplify it even further. Humanity has been in survival. And in that state, they are only partially aware of a multi-dimensional reality. If the universe, the galaxy, your bodies, your reality was in an immense hue of colors, you are in black and white. And some of you are discovering shades of gray. Could it be simpler than this? Is there more than you can perceive or think or see or imagine? The answer is yes. Now, let us carry it even further. The highest sciences on your planet, which you would call physical sciences, for many years have been dealing on the outskirts of what we will call multidimensional discovery. It's not new. One of the highest minded thinkers that you can imagine, you called Einstein. In all that he gave you and all that he could imagine and think, he had trouble with multidimensionality. It is indeed true what the teacher Greg said, that on his deathbed he bemoaned the fact that through his brilliance he could not ally the forces that he knew about, could not conceive. And here is the irony. The scientists around him that he did not like had the answer. Today you call them quantum. When they started the discovery of multidimensionality, they started with looking at particles that were obviously different than your reality. They called them quantum particles. Just a name. A name of reality that was different from yours. It opened the door for questioning what was there. The name quantum stuck. The very idea that a particle could be multidimensional was labeled quantum. That became a buzzword, if you would like, for multidimensional things. And we're going to carry on that tradition. Make it simple. You live in a practical world that only includes a few of the dimensions. We even hesitate to count them because they're not countable. They're not really linear. You want them to be, so you gave them names and numbers. There are those that would say that means that we are broaching a new dimensionality. Oh, yes, you are. And then they will linearize it and number them. We're moving into 5. Oh, some are really brilliant. They're at 7. And we've told you before, you're still in black and white if you think that way. It's bigger than this. There's a reason why I'm telling you this, and it's going to answer some of the questions in a simple way that were asked today of the brilliant ones. Dimensionality is a soup of reality, with many hues and many shades, and you're in the black and white portion moving into the shades of gray. There's no color yet. Not with a general humanity. There are a few brilliant ones who have the color. I've asked this before. I want you to put yourself in the shoes of a human being who faces a sightless person from birth. And the sightless person says, "Explain red." They have never seen anything, and they want to see or have the explanation of a concept so much grander and greater than anything they have ever seen or known or experienced. You will not be able to answer. You know what red is, don't you? But you can't tell them, can you? Do you understand just a little of the barrier that might exist between the multidimensional quantum concepts that we are going to talk about and the one you're in? It is the same. So how do you get to the next stage, and what is happening? Dear ones, I'm going to make a statement. When you cross the bridge, as you move through the precession of the equinoxes, as the calendar dropped away, as the cycles start to change, humanity is going to be introduced to quantumness. And it's going to be everywhere. For multidimensionality encompasses everything, not physics. Physics is simply the study of the way it works. That's all. But you're going to find it everywhere. And there would be those who say, "What's the big deal?" And I'll tell you what the big deal is. There is reality in so many levels. The man in the shroud. What was his reality? Could he walk this planet with a different kind of consciousness that was so elevated and mature that he could manipulate physics, biology, life? Could he speak to nature and have it change? Could he speak to the spark of life itself within cells and rejuvenate instantly? Yes or no? Those of you who believe in the words of the ancients, written clearly, will know that that is history. And the answer from me is yes. Oh, he was not alone. Those who followed him, even into the current day, could manifest things out of nothing, control over physics. I'm going to make a statement right now on this planet. The highest inventions that are being worked on, that are being manifested, that are being thought of, developed, and used are quantum. There is no invention that is of 4 dimensions that is meaningful at all. Oh, there will be some. They'll be cute. But nothing like what you're working on. Now, let us back up to a channel of a few weeks ago. And I started to describe and define what you're going to discover eventually about something you think is different. And it's called consciousness. Define it in your mind. You'd say, it is the way we think. It might be identified as our vibratory rate of thinking. Oh, how 3D of you. You know what consciousness is? It's the human being's quantum engine. And it's physical. We told you it has rules of physics. That when you started to apply, and when you started to understand, and when you started to know about how to work with your own consciousness, no one else's, but your own, the moment you begin, you inform every single cell in your body to start shifting into shades of gray. It is automatic because it is expected of an old soul. There have been hints of this, dear ones. We have given you a little physics. We're going to give you a little physics again. You're dealing with basically 4 laws, what you call laws of physics. We have defined them slightly differently to make it easier for you to understand. 2 of them, we have said, are strong and weak electromagnetic force. You have relabeled those as gravity and electromagnetics. Not really. They're allied. I'm going to show you in a minute. The second 2, the strong and the weak nuclear force, what scientists take a look at the core of the atom and examine. And then the 2 missing ones, which will give you a total of 3, 4, no, 5 maybe, 6, 3 pairs, will complete it all. The strong and weak multidimensional force, when discovered, analyzed, defined, and when finally understood, will even explain what you would call dark matter. There is no such thing. It's simply invisible. Now, let's talk about a brilliant one for a moment to give you just a hint of how science starts to relate to consciousness. His name was Tesla, and he loved magnetics. I told you about him. He came for a reason and left in frustration because he could only go so far. That was all he was allowed to do. Let me tell you what he saw in his laboratory through his eyes. And I've only mentioned it once before. Dealing only with designer magnetic fields that were coarse, without computers, without the electronics kind of elegance you have today, all he could do was flounder in general areas of designer magnetics. But 3 times or more he touched on a formula that changed the mass of things on his workbench, and they flew off and hit the ceiling. The astute who examined his workshop, even the preserved archaeology of his workshop today, will see pockmarks in the ceiling. He didn't discover anti-gravity. There is no such thing. He discovered the relationship between designer magnetics and the mass of an object. You think mass is stable. You think if something is bigger, it has a higher mass. Oh, how 3D. That's all you've seen. And it gives you something called gravity, which you also don't understand. You know why? Because it's quantum. Magnetics is quantum. You play with it. That's all you do. You play with it. You don't understand it yet. Humanity is starting to work with consciousness. What did you see the good doctor do today? What did you see the teacher Greg settle on? To bring back something he said was old and give it to you again. Do you see how the dots are starting to be connected? Because both of them centered on something that is critical, and that is consciousness will change physics. And part of physics is biology. The masters gave it to you first. They begged you to watch it. And what did you do? As unelegant humans, literally in survival mode, you worshiped them. You didn't get it. You didn't understand. This could be you. And they came again and again and again. And by the way, they're coming again and again. Perhaps you'll listen this time and write it down. Consciousness is the key and is the answer to a very esoteric and quantum question. If quantum energy has no real time, if quantum energy can be projected through portions of entanglement so there's no distance, one of the questions today, how about the law of the inverse square? You know what that is? That's a three-dimensional law that quantum physics ignores. You can send a signal from here, right now, today, to the farthest part of the universe, and they'll get it instantly, because it's not part of black and white. Are you understanding this? The ones who are receiving shades of gray are starting to develop the receivers that are quantum in their brains. Do you know what spontaneous remission really is? It's the human being who has a triggering from whatever process you want to call it, through his akash, through fear, through joy, through survival, who all of a sudden, for a moment, sees in color and has the ability of the masters and heals himself in minutes. Now, I want to relate to what you saw today, dear human beings in this room, and were told. What did you see on the screen? Healing in minutes. How do you explain it? What did the doctor tell you about a new system that is purely and totally conscious thought? Instant healing. Are you beginning to connect the dots? Here's a question. If you can create a quantum invention, whether it's a laser or something else, when you turn it on, why doesn't it cure everyone around you? Here is a simple answer. Because it's quantum, and you're not. But those of you who are working on quantum thought, meaning a higher vibrational consciousness, are then the antennas who will receive it. Is that simple enough? If all humanity had the shades of gray moving into color, you could turn the laser on and all of them would be affected. So it is keyed in to something we have told you from the beginning that you need and is the king of all things from the other side, and it is called free choice. A human has the ability to ask themselves logical questions and develop their own answers. Here's a question: is there something more than you can see? The ones in this room would say yes. The ones outside this room may say no, and my partner was one of them who said, I will only believe what I can see. That's why he was so stubborn. You know where this leads you? Nowhere. If you are proud of this belief and you are listening to me now, or perhaps you're even in the room, and you'd say, that's logical, why should I change? I'm only going to believe what I can see. This makes total sense. And I could say, well, that means 100 years ago they told you about germs, and what did you do? You laughed in their face. Probably caught their disease. Speaking of that, you want to know the power of the quantum consciousness of a human being? Look at a hypochondriac who over and over speaks to his cells out loud, tells everybody what he's afraid of, and that's what he gets. That's power. Did you notice? Did you notice? You're working on shades of gray in the room. As you do, there is another rule that starts to take shape. Something is hidden in your body. Now, if I told you who hid it there, you're not going to like the answer. There are processes that are quantum. All of you have mastery. All of you can be the man in the shroud. Your DNA is equipped fully. There's nothing that has to be given to you from somewhere else to activate it. The basic truth is this: your free will starts a process that the cells have been listening for eons. The energy was not right on the planet, and now it is. The part of space you were going into was not right, and now it is. There's a plan here, and it's benevolent, and it's loving, and it's gracious, and it honors free choice of the human being to see in color. I'm going to say it again. The most profound inventions and processes on this planet right now are the ones that totally involve consciousness, not physics. But consciousness is physics. The creator of the universe is the master physicist. And when you start realizing what is in these forces, even the 4 basic ones, but especially in the 6, you will include consciousness as a major player of physics. And that is why your mind and what you have can instantly speak to your biology and get a result, and say to the mountain, move, and it will. What if all humanity had that power? The intellectual says, that's laughable. What if you did? And I say to you, congratulations, your Earth just graduated. There's no confliction, because it comes with wisdom to use it. Do you understand that as you mature and you become seeing the shades of gray, your palate changes, your wisdom changes. You figure out why things are what they are. You stop the problems of the earth that you think are unsolvable simply because you're in black and white and that's all you see. Every single holy man, shamanic energy, anyone that you know who could manipulate reality had something else, if you remember, and that is profound wisdom. Profound. It comes with the territory. Can you imagine a human race that is wise? It's happened before in other places in your galaxy, and that is why we are comfortable to say today, we have seen it and you're doing it. The degree of speed at which you accomplish it is up to you. Slow, fast, but the snowball is rolling. It's going to be hard to stop. And in the process, as light and dark itself recalibrates itself, there will be conflict. And we told you there would be. Do you dare celebrate it? Understand. So again we say, the ones who are studying their own selves and the consciousness of themselves and are trying to figure out the puzzle are going to trigger a cellular response that is going to help give you the answers. Your body is smart. Who hid all this information? What's the process? Why the illusion? Who hid it? You already know the answer, don't you? We told you, God within means you're eternal. God within means you're wise and you're smart. God within means that you were smart enough to hide this from you until you became mature enough to understand it and use it. I hope this starts to explain some of the oxymorons between quantumness and 3D. Dear ones, the message of Kryon from the beginning, has said that you are facing change. Don't despair at what you see on your planet because you created it within the change. Go back to your history and your prophecy and you will say there was every bit the opportunity for you to have destroyed yourself. You had the engine of destruction up and working when you were born. And you didn't. The naysayers will say the engine is still there, you're still going to do it. That's what humans do. And then there will be the ones who are thinking in shades of gray. And there's two kinds, and we told you who they were a little while ago. I'm going to add the third group. There's the ancients, there's the futurists, and there's the old souls. I can't tell you the celebration that's going on my side of the veil about what you're doing. To sit here and listen to the truth of the day, to see the evidence of it, to talk to those who are brilliant and who are dedicated their entire lives to spreading it. We saw it before. Here it comes. Don't let anybody talk you out of it. Don't let anybody talk you out of your magnificence. Don't let fear get you today. You're built to take it also. From what?
Hi everybody, thanks for watching this. I wanted to tell you this is a little time sensitive.
Use that information to move into a meditation and a channel from Kryon. So I invite you to close your eyes, place your hand on your heart, and in this moment, I invite you to feel the energy of the many thousands of souls that are tuning in, whether it's in the now or in the future, which in the future becomes their now. And so joining us are thousands of beautiful souls, and I want you to connect heart to heart with each person coming into this moment. And with our collective consciousness, let us send a wave of love and compassion to those on the planet in this moment who are going through grief. There are many who have been losing loved ones that have had their end of days on earth, and they are in a moment of grief. And while we can't take that grief away immediately, we can send love and compassion out to those individuals. And allow them to feel our support. And allow us to visualize them, perhaps not in a month or not quite a year, but allow them to be softened in their reaction. And that they can smile when they think of that loved person, knowing that we are in a circle of life and we don't truly die. We simply change energy forms. And that loved one that they have lost is now part of their soul group, guiding them, assisting them as they continue to walk on this planet. And with that connection and thought, allow your hands to relax. Take a deep breath. And we welcome the message from Kryon.
Greetings, dear ones. I'm Kryon of Magnetic Service. Each time we come before you in this way, I hope you understand the love, the benevolence, the beauty. As we sit at your feet and give you the wisdom that is here. This planet is changing greatly. You may be aware of it. Some of you are seeing things that are fearful or appear fearful because of the shift, of the change, not understanding that some of that change may be that which will upset the normal. And it's the normal, perhaps, that is not going to return. A normal of low consciousness that is starting to move away from humanity as you know it. This is the first of the month channel. That is to say, the first one of the month. All 4 of these channels will be available and are available for free. And so I then am free to give you a 4-piece channel, and I do it yet again. Part 1 of a subject. And this subject truly is the elephant under the table, as some of you would say. Those of you who are watching this program, who have tuned into this program because you want to watch it, have something all in common. Various degrees of something in common, and that is you're starting to ask questions. And the questions you are asking is, have I missed something? Is there something perhaps bigger than I was told? Specifically, when it comes to that which is God, the creative source, spirituality, the energy on the planet, that some are saying is moving to a place it never was before, and they'd be right. The elephant under the table is that you're different. I'm going to call it
consciousness shift. Some have called it awakening. I will say that it is humans' new frontier. Not just that which is awakening, but a perception shift of the planet that is gradually starting to happen. And it refers not just to spiritual things. It actually relates to the way you think. Human consciousness is starting to vibrate higher. And the first thing that takes place, dear ones, the first thing is those who start to be more aware of what they were not aware of before. Let's call it, instead of an awakening, let's call it a greater awareness. So that is the new frontier. Greater awareness, specifically about that which is spirit, about your own spirituality. And that's why you're here. It's the elephant under the table because it has changed your life. Sometimes it has made it more difficult in your life. Some of you have lost friends and family members because of it. So we're going to discuss it. The attributes, then, of this awareness shift. That's the subject. The first of these four is simply going to be looking around. I have given many parables, many examples, many metaphors of what some of you have experienced that actually got you in trouble. And I would say in trouble, that is to say, when you go against the norm, there are those who say, how could you? You were trained in this, you learned this, this is your staple, this is the way it works, and you have varied from that. Therefore, we're not going to be with you anymore. Perhaps that's why you're here listening to a program like this. You're among friends and good company. When I first started with my partner and started channeling on this planet, one of the first parables I gave was about a man named Woe. I told you he wasn't really a man or a woman. He was a woe-man, but we call him a man. We call him a he because it's easy. And it had to do with a disturbance in the corner. We called it woe in the room of lesson. And the disturbance in the corner is a metaphor for him being in a room. And the room was his life. But there was a corner that always vibrated a little strangely. And those who were in the room with him said, yes, this is life. There'll always be things that you can look at or not look at. And there'll always be odd things. Don't look at it because it'll capture you. Or it's not good for you. And in this parable, Woe eventually looked, and it was like a door that he cracked open, and there was light there. There was other things there he didn't understand, and it changed his life. It was benevolent. It was loving. That was the first time we gave that kind of a parable, indicating that if you want to look, you might find a greater truth than you've been told. We gave a parable which became a book, The Journey Home. And in that, there was an average man, Michael Thomas, who had a near-death experience, and he came back with instructions from an angel. The angel told him to move into his city until he came to a park and sit there and wait, and he did. And finally, he thought he saw something in the hedge, like an opening or perhaps an anomaly. And he went to the hedge and he saw that it was indeed an opening, a doorway, if you want to say that. And then he had a decision. He said, am I imagining it or not? Has somebody made this happen to me or not? Am I being tricked or not? And he tried to unsee that, and he couldn't. Every time he looked at the hedge, he saw the doorway, every single time. Eventually, dear ones, he went through that and the adventure began. And he learned about things which were bigger than he was told. But the point is this, that when you start looking and something occurs, you cannot then delete that. Your conscious, your brain captures something critical, an opening perhaps, an awareness perhaps. Some have called it even an awakenings of what is it? And you're not frightened of it because you know that what it is that you have seen or felt is okay. It's safe, and you would like to know more about it. There are so many who have called these channelings a trick, that somehow you are brainwashed and you're tricked into something, and then you're captured forever. Dear ones, what if you went from darkness to light and you liked the light better? Is that a trick? I'll tell you something that you should hear and you should need to know perhaps, and that is that all of you have the ability to look. And that if you choose to look, dear ones, that's like an outstretched hand to all of us to say, look at that. He's looking, she's looking. Let's give them something to see. That's what happened to my partner. That's what happened to many of you. You saw a greater truth. You went to look further at it, and it became that which is now your life because it saved some of you. We know who's watching. It became something that has extended your life. We know who's watching. What if God is bigger than you were told? What if God is not even representative of that word itself? A word that sometimes means anger and judgment and dysfunction like the Greeks had. That creative source which made you is provable all over the world. If you don't believe in that which is God, what if you erase the whole idea of a Father in the sky, instead have a benevolent source that you are part of, that has a grander scheme than anything anyone has told you? Let me close with this until the next section. There are physicians around this planet who are very, very good at something, and that is saving lives. And they spend their time often in the operating rooms, emergency cases mostly, those who are dying from accidents mostly, trying to save their lives and bring them back because it's not time yet in our way of thinking and your way of thinking, perhaps. They come in and there's been an accident and their heart stops. And for whatever reason it is, and it can be a multitude of reasons and so many accidents, they're resuscitated then. And that physician is good at this, at saving people and bringing them back, and they've seen it over and over and over, where someone would be clinically dead for a number perhaps of moments or minutes or whatever. Over and over, you've seen this, you know this. And the thing that they will tell you over and over, ask them. Some of them have written books on it, is this. A person comes back from that near-death experience, and the first thing they want to know when they recover and look at the doctor is this: why did you bring me back? You see, they saw something. The door started to open and the light shone, and they felt the love and the benevolence. They felt safe and beautiful. Oh my, can you imagine such a thing? Even though the family was back there on the planet and all that, and all they wanted to do was stay. And it wasn't a trick of the mind, as some biologists will tell you. That's real. And then they come back into a planet where they have to work with consciousnesses, lows and highs and all this, and they're disappointed. So many. And then they philosophize about it, and some become authors and teachers and healers themselves, and often the near-death experience has opened them to this. They saw the truth, and they want to show it to you without you having to go through what they did. And that's why you sit and listen to them. And we've had them. So many times we, meaning that which is the channeling we've had them to give to you. We've had them present on programs like this. We've tried to show you there is more. There is an awareness starting to happen, and you can't unsee it, dear ones. And in the next section, when we come back, when we channel next week, we will continue. And the continuation will be what happens when you see the truth in all of its glory, and no one else does. I think it matches so many of those right now who are listening. Are you interested? This is you. This is about the awakening awareness process on the planet. Not just you, but so many around you. I'll be back. And so it is.